Good evening, everyone. Welcome to one of the best shows you're ever going to see here on Quinn Broadcasting. I've got the famous, the wonderful Dr. Steve Soloway with me. Doc, how are you?
I'm absolutely tickled pink to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. I'll tell you what, folks, if you don't know Dr. Soloway, he is not only the brightest and the best, but he's got a great sense of humor as well. So really, we've enjoyed our pre-show discussions. And I was telling Dr. Soloway, I didn't mention to you that, and for HIPAA purposes, I won't mention my friend's name, but I have a friend who's, thank God, every day that you're there because he has horrendous rheumatoid arthritis, can't even walk.
I can tell you who he is because I've only helped one person in my whole life.
Yeah, right. I hear 1,000s, 10,000s. In fact, I read one point where you've had people you've treated from all over the United States, over 100 cities and countries as well, right?
So I have a patient from Perth, Australia, and I have a regular group of patients from Italy, Greece, Turkey, Israel. I have, I think, 2 or 3 patients from England. I have a lot of Asian patients, not living in the U.S. And but one of the neatest experiences or things had a man driving to me in a Winnebago from New Orleans.
I'll be darned.
And after his 4th or 5th trip in the Winnebago to the office, 1,400 miles or whatever the trip was, I finally said to him, since you're doing so well, why don't you just go back to your local doctor and local hospital, show them my notes, and just let them continue with the treatment plan in New Orleans? So begrudgingly, he said okay, because he wanted to keep coming. And I said, this is insane.
Wow.
Well, the doctors down in whatever clinic he went to, they read my name and they said, okay, we don't know him. We'll Google him. They said, he didn't go to a good medical school, so we're not going to follow his plan. And the patient said, well, I'm better. I just want to continue it. I'm not asking for Percocet. I just want, the Enbrel or the methotrexate, the normal drugs, right?
Yeah.
And it took almost a year of fighting, and it was a disaster. But so I mention him because he was the first of many who have taken long trips, whether it's California, whether it's Colorado, whether it's Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Houston, Houston, the Vermont, Maine. So I have patients from New England, I have patients from Pacific Northwest, I have patients from the Southeast, I have patients from the Midwest. And a lot of it, not a lot of it, it's all word of mouth.
Yeah, right.
And the other bit is perhaps the YouTube channel. The books are actually very informative for a patient, even if they were to get the book only to read about their disease. So, the one book is Medical Politics, which hasn't come out yet. It'll be out. Actually, we're releasing it this Saturday at the office. But the other book, Bad Medicine, which has been out for 2 years, it talks about my experience of what I've seen that is horrible, if you will say, in a somewhat satire genre of all the stuff I've seen from, let's say, age 25 to 40 or something, or 22 to 40. Whenever I was starting medical school, until I was in practice for about 10 years. And the stories are just unbelievable. And I have a person who was interviewed in each chapter to kind of verify each item, because it's not a true nonfiction book, but everything is 100% true. So there's not a reference for everything, but there's a person to say, yeah, I was with Steve Soloway at that time in his life, and yeah, everything he says is true, even though nobody will say it. But the last chapter in each book, rheumatology for dummies. It's just a basic level for young doctors, patients, and anybody who has a little interest in learning about, it could be rheumatoid arthritis, osteoporosis, gout, common things, real common things, lupus, some of the common non-surgical orthopedic problems, such as trigger finger, which I patented the needle for,
Oh, wow.
carpal tunnel, or osteoarthritis of the CMC joint, which whenever somebody over 60 says, I can't turn the doorknob anymore, I go over and I say, okay, the problem's here. Ow, how did you know that? Well, 30 years of this, you would know it too.
Right.
So actually, I have a book signing in Manhattan Thursday.
The tower.
Yes.
Trump Towers,
but,
right?
But I have about 4 patients who are very high-level people who insist on getting this injection before the whole book thing starts. And in the first book, there's a photo of me injecting Lou Ferrigno at his kitchen table for the same problem. Like, everyone gets this problem.
Wow. That is really something. Tell me a little bit about rheumatoid arthritis and osteoporosis. How do they come about? What causes those?
So it's really important as a purist to define what we're referring to when we say osteoarthritis, osteoporosis. Because a lot of people hear the word osteo. Many people, they come to me and they say, I have osteo. And so this opens Pandora's box. Do you have osteoporosis, osteomalacia, osteochondritis, There's 100 of them.
Oh, I see.
So here's how we'll start. If you take a bone and the bone is too thin, that's osteoporosis.
Oh,
If you take 2 bones that are getting too close together, that's osteoarthritis.
oh, okay.
Because when the 2 bones come closer together, it means the cushion between them got thinner. And when they come together and they're thinner, like hair, skin, nails, they're always regenerating.
Right.
But if the bone starts regenerating and it's no longer this far apart, it's that far apart, new bone forms. So you get the little bumps on the fingers, the little excess bone growth. So that's osteoarthritis. Osteoarthritis is the typical wear and tear or aging-related arthritis that's considered on the street the good kind.
Oh,
Rheumatoid arthritis is the bad kind.
that's what my friend had. Yeah.
So rheumatoid is defined by inflammation, not wear and tear. So the people with rheumatoid, they wake up in the morning very stiff.
Right.
And as they get going, they feel better. The osteo people, they wake up okay, but an hour later, they're limping. Or if they sit down in a chair for 20 minutes and they get up, they're like, oh my God, these first steps are terrible. Ooh. Now, osteoporosis, to go completely off the highway, osteoporosis doesn't hurt at all. So we screen you for it based on either your age or your risk factors. And if we find out that your bones are too thin, the goal is to treat you early to strengthen the existing bone to mitigate your risk of fracture. Because you won't know you have osteoporosis until you break your spine, rib, wrist for basically no reason or a minor slip and fall.
Wow. That is scary when you think about it, but it's so neat. I've looked at some of your commercials, and just to see your facility and how well you take care of the people, it's just amazing. I mean, if you haven't seen it, folks, we'll get it from them and show it sometime. But it is just very, very comforting to know that the care is there, and it's your staff. You give them credit too. They're very, very good.
My staff deserves all the credit. You can only be as good as your weakest link.
Yeah, good point.
And even though I may be at the top of that little pyramid, if one of the bottom of the pyramid slips out, the whole thing will just collapse. I've made a family there. I have 4 people with me more than approximately 25 years.
Wow.
I've got about 10 people between 16 and 24 years, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And other than a couple of positions that are like a summer job kind of thing, other than those type of positions, the longevity is really, it might be my proudest achievement in the practice.
And you should be. That's fantastic to keep a staff that long. You've done something right.
But that's the key. Well, I don't know if it's the only key, but you still have to perform and you have to get the people better.
Yeah, right.
But keeping the staff congenial with each other and with the patients and letting them feel like they're part of the action, it creates their feeling of their own self-worth and they want to be there because they feel important too, and they should. And they should be paid fairly and so on and so forth. One of my Solowayisms, which is in the first book, although I don't even know if this is written there or not, but basically, if you don't take care of the little guy, if the poorest guy can't take care of their family, the system falls apart. So
good point.
I definitely live by those rules.
Well, you can see that people are wonderful, and all I hear is great things about your facility and you too.
Somebody must be paying you off about that, though. Or paying them off, I guess.
Well, I was telling your friend, I said I'm good friends with Jeff Andrew, and of course,
Jeff, I love Jeff.
Yeah. Well, let me just for a moment before we get past that, I want to tell you a couple. I saw Jeff's comments here, but before him was another guy. This is reviews. Dr. Steve Soloway makes points on COVID, gender, and hurdles placed by insurance or government to hinder the care of patients. Of interest, he breaks down in layman's terms issues related to several diseases in his field of rheumatology, osteoporosis, and fibromyalgia. It's a great read. Donald J. Trump Jr. is the first one who's read this. And then we also have, we have Jeff Andrew and Mike Huckabee, too. In these days, when there's absolutely no trust in this world, it is good to have a medical professional who is beyond reproach. I am proud of Dr. Soloway and proud of his constant quest for excellence. Congressman Jefferson Van Drew, 2nd Congressional District of the state of New Jersey, and was our senator and assemblyman, a senator, and now is our congressman. But really a good guy, you know.
I love Jeff Andrew.
He's a super person.
He is a super person.
He really is. And he's got an election coming up. And in fact, let me mention, folks, we will be covering the election on November the 8th, so please be sure to tune in and watch us here. We'll be back with Dr. Stephen Soloway, who's not just a great rheumatologist and doctor, he's an author. He's written 2 books, and we'll be back to talk more about those right after these messages.
In the future, I'll tell you, predictably, there's going to be a worse lack of thinking because the few geniuses at the top are going to have your genetic map. So that the regular doctor in the middle is going to be replaced by a kiosk because the kiosk doesn't have to think and the doctor isn't thinking. You're going to get your genetic map. Oh, your right eye goes sideways, your left foot goes backwards, and your hair is purple on Tuesdays. Oh, you have Steve Soloway disease. What do you do for Steve Soloway disease? Well, mutate that gene and you'll be fine.
At Mintz Insurance, we're proud to have been serving our customers for nearly 80 years, offering 30 different insurance products for your auto, home, and business. And to help ensure that you're getting the best rates possible, we give you up to 3 quotes for every policy, so you can choose what's right for you. At Mintz, we're part of the community, local representatives, supporting events, and proud of it. It's part of who we are. Mintz Insurance. Call today and find out how we can help you save on insurance, or visit us at mintzinsurance.com.
When you want delicious food made from scratch soups and locally sourced ingredients, you head to Larry's 2 on Main Road in Vineland, New Jersey. Family owned and operated, Larry's 2 boasts one of the area's only salad bars with a great selection of fresh vegetables, rolls, dressings, and more. In their cafe, enjoy a piping hot cup of your favorite beverage made by one of their skilled baristas. Their complimentary Wi-Fi allows Larry's 2 to be the meeting destination with a friend or small group. They also offer banquet rooms that can accommodate 10 to 120 guests for any occasion. Open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday and 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Call Larry's 2 today at 856-692-9001. Larry's 2 Restaurant and Cafe, located at 907 North Main Road in Vineland, New Jersey.
I'm Brian Lankin, 3rd generation business owner, Al Shoes. Been at the same location since 1961, our 61st year. We specialize in work boots, work shoes, orthopedic shoes, baby walking shoes, and school shoes. We go up to a men's 17 and a woman's 13. It's $5 off, $25, and $10 off $100 if you mention that you've seen this.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. My special guest is Dr. Steve Soloway, who is an arthritis and rheumatology associates, as his company is South Jersey. They're located 2848 South Delsey Drive, Suite 2C in Vineland, and they have all of the whatever you need. They'll take good care of you. And as I say, everyone speaks so highly of Dr. Soloway, and you are actually the chief of rheumatology for the entire Inspira Health Network now, right?
Yes, I am.
And I've spent some time there recently. I had some really good treatment. I will say that for them. But, I don't know if people realize Inspira is not only our Vineland hospital, but now it's Mullica Hill. They have Elmer.
And Salem.
That's right, Steve.
Yeah,
yes, They're going to have Salem. So I'll have 4 hospitals. And have you met Amy Mansu?
I did, in fact.
Yeah.
I met with Amy about 2 weeks ago. We spent about a half an hour.
Yeah, I've had her
wonderful
nice
woman, very smart, dynamic, has a good vision.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with her.
Yeah, me too. I was very impressed with the vision, and her. She came from Robert Wood Johnson and somewhere else in Central Jersey, and I give my friends on the board of directors a lot of credit for hiring someone of her capability and really set the pace. And I have to say too, Betty Sheridan.
Oh,
you've known her for a long time.
Oh, I love Betty.
Sure. Isn't she a sweetheart?
Oh, yeah.
When I was in the hospital, Betty did come to see me, and I have to tell you, folks, it was an excellent experience. Every single nurse, every doctor. There was a fella named Fido, and he was the nurse's assistant. Oh, my God, I love that guy. He did everything. You name it, he was there in a second. He was just such a great guy. And many of the nurses, Dan and James and Jennifer and all the people that came in, and I was in the ICU, so they were very attentive and everything. But I couldn't be happier. I had kidney cancer years ago and went to the University of Pennsylvania to have it removed. But everything, well, then I also had an AFib. And Steve Cohn, do you know him?
Yes.
He saved my life.
Another terrific doctor.
He did a fantastic job. I got to the hospital in AFib, and my blood pressure was 60/30. My pulse rate was 199 beats a minute. And I heard him say to the nurse, "We got to use 50 joules." And I figured that must be some form of electric. And they ended up with 100. And he paddled me, and man, just put me right back into normal heart rhythm. Felt fabulous. I did have to go then to Cooper. That was about 15 years ago, and they did an ablation. And luckily, that's worked out. So I'm still here. Somebody said to me, "Steve, Jim, when are you ever going to retire?" And this will be a question for you too. I said, "Well, when I probably drop dead on the set and Rocap Shannon comes and picks my body up, that's when I'll retire." But you love what you do, don't you?
Yeah, I think I'll be carried out. I'll be toe tagged at the desk and just be carted off to treating people up in heaven or something.
Yeah, that's right. People at the pearly gates will be saying, "No, there's Dr. Soloway. Hey, I've got this thing with my thumb. Give me that shot."
Yeah, I was your patient 50 years ago. I've been waiting up here for you for 40 years.
Well, it must be satisfying for you to help so many people. It's got to be great.
It is truly the most gratifying. It's absolutely the most gratifying career to know that I am helping people. I mean, there's nothing. I can tell you unequivocally, it is more gratifying than anything. Whatever your favorite car or how much money you need or want, or if you need a white fur coat like Mike Tyson or Joe Namath, or you need 25 karat diamonds or whatever it is. There's nothing more gratifying. I mean, this is more gratifying than winning the heavyweight title. This is more gratifying than winning the Daytona 500. This is more gratifying than winning the World Series. There's only one problem. You don't get a ring.
Yeah, that's true. And they're big rings.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they should.
Well, President Trump should have given you a ring when you were on the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition.
I'm going to have to give him a call. I want my ring.
That's it. That would be really nice. That was White House announces in press release council members' official seal given, and his swearing in was May 29th, 2018.
Yeah.
That was, I guess, his second year in office, right? President Trump.
Yes.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And the state, you did mention that he talked to Chris Christie, and Chris Christie appointed you.
I was the only direct appointment by the governor. Typically, I think most of the people on the medical board would be nominated to the governor's office by a senator.
Right, yeah.
But in this case, it happened very quickly. I was positioned in, I'll call it a strategic position. I was between the two men, and I said, Don, is now the time to ask Chris, what I want? And in his typical fashion, he said, he's a good man. Whatever he wants, do it for him. He's a good man.
That's good.
The next day, I got a formal letter from Trenton saying, congratulations, I hope you'll do a good job. I know you'll do a good job.
Oh, that's super. Well, and also, I see you serve locally, too. You've been on the board of directors of the Vineland Library, Beth Israel Congregation Board of Directors, the Luciano Center Advisory Board at the college, Dr. Stephen Soloway Radiological Scholarship Fund, Cumberland County Foundation contributor from 2003 to present. That's wonderful to give the kids a chance to get to college, and the honorary delegate for the Republican National Convention in 2004, National Republican Congressional Committee 2004 Speakers Trust member, and a member of Frank Lobiondo's task force from 2004 to 2008. I served with Frank when he was just a lowly freeholder before he became assemblyman and then a congressman. Good guy, really good people,
South Jersey's got a lot of good stuff. It's a well-kept secret down here.
Yeah, it really is. That's true. A lot of good people. And as you said, people come from all over the country and the world to get taken care of by you. That's quite a tribute. It's got to make you feel good.
Again, can't think of anything too much more gratifying than this.
George, can we show doctors one of the things that you had put up that we had talked about earlier? We have some great clips of Dr. Soloway. Wanted to give you a chance to see those, and Doc can tell you what he's doing. One of them, I know he swims. Where do you swim? Vineland Pool?
So I was swimming at GPAC, Greater Philadelphia Aquatic Club, which was located in the GCIT, the Votech School up at exit 53.
Oh, okay. Sure. Gloucester County Institute of Technology.
You got it.
Yeah.
So.
No, he's not crazy. He'll just do odd things. He swims. What man his age would go swimming like this and swim the way he does? He'll get up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and go swimming before he comes to work.
For me to get up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I am a night owl. I am not a morning person. God bless you.
Well, to tell you a secret, I can't get up that early anymore. So when I get home from work, even if it's midnight, I'll swim for an hour.
Wow. No wonder you look so great. That's what's
Thank you.
Kept you in fabulous shape. Wow. You look 20 years younger than whatever your age is. That's a really great thing. It really is. Wow. So have you always been that fanatic about, I guess, also nutrition?
I've always been into sports. I've always been athletic. I've always been into eating. Whether that's nutritional or not, I don't know, because I'm part of my nutrition plan includes ice cream, chocolate chip cookies, brownies.
All the good things.
Right. You can't go wrong with pizza. You can't go wrong with a big fat burger. But I try to eat a balanced meal through the day with grapefruit always.
That's good for you.
Apples now. I pick my own apples up at Hill Creek Farms.
Oh, that's super.
They see me walking out with 6 bags, and they're like, what are you doing? Do you open like a flea market? No, this is like a 3-month supply. And I try to eat kind of healthy, but I got to slip in that ice cream at night. I have to. This is a problem.
What's your favorite ice cream? You have a favorite flavor?
Well, so it was chocolate forever.
Yeah, me too.
But anything with hot fudge is my favorite flavor.
Okay, well that makes sense too.
Yeah.
It's like even doubly better than
Exactly,
chocolate.
exactly.
You should both as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess.
By the way, can I add something?
Sure can.
When I was about 17, one of my 50 jobs before I was 18, I used to work at Haagen-Dazs and scoop ice cream.
Oh, no wonder you love ice cream. See, it doesn't get any better than Haagen-Dazs.
You're right about that.
That is something. Anyway, we really should talk some about the book. This medical, the past one.
Medical Bad Medicine was the first book,
Right?
And Medical Politics is the upcoming one.
Politics of Medicine, right? So, I guess we talked a little bit about insurance. That seems to be, well, here's Medical Politics, the book, and it's something where there's so much, I don't know, underhanded things that go on with the insurance companies, it seems like, and look at the cost of pharmaceutical prescriptions compared to like Canada. We're like twice the price on many things. Is that because? Tell us why that is.
Well, the number one problem for healthcare right now, as I see it in the United States for the past 15 years, is a combination, and maybe I'll be saying the same thing twice. It's government overreach and socialized medicine. For those who don't know, we do have socialized medicine here. If you come to my office, and depending on what your insurance is, I will have to get a pre-authorization to perhaps send you to another specialist. I will perhaps need a pre-authorization to treat you with the medicine you need. And as I spoke to you prior to the show, I prescribed the right medicine for a patient. The insurance stopped paying for it, and their substitute didn't work for the patient. So the doctor who may have the knowledge is not allowed to apply his practical knowledge because the insurance companies, which are by and large, I think, I hate to say funded by the left wing of the government, but this goes to we could blow this conversation up into a Pandora's box that goes on for weeks, I think, or days at least. Uh-huh. The government started to pass off money to hospitals to buy up doctors because it's easier to control 1,000 hospitals than 1 million doctors.
I wondered why more and more doctors are closing their practice and becoming part of the hospital.
Because there's, I will say that hospitals falsely advertise that they can pay a doctor more than they can do on their own. And the simple answer is you can look at the hospital as the local government in whatever town you're from, and they can't do anything as efficient as the guy in his own practice. It's not possible. That would be like comparing any Fortune 500 company and saying, oh, the government will do it better. It's not possible because nobody owns that one and nobody
Right.
cares.
Yeah.
Somebody owns that one and somebody cares.
Right.
So the insurance companies have been given, and this, by the way, the insurance companies, starting with the federal government, Medicare,
Right.
they have been given essentially totalitarian power to not only oversee, but to invade your office, to invade your charts. You are no longer considered a hard worker doing a good job. You are considered a criminal if you're working too much or more than somebody in your peer group, because nobody ever congratulates you. They say, too much work, not possible. How does anyone do all this work?
But they haven't seen you and your energy.
Well, you see, this is a problem. And anybody who's like me, who has energy, who doesn't mind being in the office 12 hours, and has done it for a long time, and has their system oiled to the way they drive their system, is going to have an efficient system. And as long as you keep the family in place and everyone knows their role, everything comes out right. That's not what is wanted by the far left. And I mean, I'll throw in the whole issue with freedom of speech. We have freedom of speech. The problem is that the freedom of speech has been allowed to be transferred from the government saying you have freedom of speech to, you know what, we're going to let Google control freedom of speech, but they have freedom of speech. Well, they have freedom of speech, but they also have the freedom to limit what you have to say.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's the same in medicine.
Oh, wow, I didn't think about that.
It's a big problem. And unless you're a fighter, you're going to get knocked out.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
You know, if you go to Manhattan, no doctor takes Medicare. So what you do, they'll see you, and they'll tell you the bill is $400. And you write a check, and they'll give you a receipt, and you'll submit it to Medicare, and you'll get back the $62.45.
That's it.
Whatever it happens to be, but it's not. Medicare has reduced for 17 years in a row the payment for an office visit.
Wow.
Now, there are some other things. I don't want to be jaded. Perhaps x-ray procedures or something have gone up. But what happens is after 3 years of some new procedure that's going up, that's very expensive, immediately, boom. It's like the procedure doesn't count anymore. They don't want you to do it anymore. And it's all financial. You know, I've suggested that patents, for example, be extended from 20 years to 40 years on these expensive drugs. This way, the drug company would have 40 years to recoup their money,
right,
so they wouldn't have to gouge people at the beginning.
Good point.
I also have suggested that once you have 3 drugs, say, in the same class, like Motrin, Naproxen, aspirin, once you have 3, you don't need 33.
Yeah.
The guy who wants to make the 4th one, that guy should be told, you know what? Not only do you want to spend $2 billion to develop another Motrin, which we don't need,
right,
but we'll kick in 50 cents on the dollar if you can come up with a cure for brain cancer, something that has no cure.
Yeah.
So let's start to go after like the mental illness.
Yeah.
Let's start to attack the cancer. I mean, not that we haven't started to attack it, but mental illness, there's no plan. You know, you get arrested or you live on the street or you do drugs or something.
Yeah.
And nobody seems to care about these people. I mean, we have a perfect situation now. We've got a president whose son, seems to have some perhaps issues that are under this topic. So you'd think it would be a really good time for for that family to stand up and raise money for awareness of issues and other things people have. But they haven't taken that opportunity. So when things are guided and jaded so much by the dollar, so much that people are literally willing to sacrifice the lives of their family over an extra million or $1 billion. I mean, look, I'm a capitalist. I want to be as rich as God will allow me to be. And whether that comes out to be this amount or that amount or this amount at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's as long as you worked your best and you were honest and you did a great job. Remember Lenny Bronstein?
Yeah.
So 1993, I'm walking around all the hospitals saying, "Hi, I'm Steve. I'm a rheumatologist. I'm new in town. If I can help see your patients, just let me know. I have nothing to do." So Lenny says to me, he says, "Don't ever worry about money. Do a good job and money will follow you."
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So it's probably the best thing any other physician ever really told me in my working career. But he was completely right. But some of these politicians, your healthcare and my healthcare and how I treat my patients and what drugs I need to prescribe for them. I mean, think about this. There's drugs that are helping everybody, and yes, they're expensive, but people come to you with insurance, and their insurance has pre-picked what you're allowed to go on.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. How is that right?
It isn't.
Okay, well, there's our socialized medicine.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, that's right. Like,
The doctor can't choose what you're on.
doesn't make sense.
Unless you come to my practice. And I come out swinging. Iron Mike doesn't have anything on me when it comes to duking it out with these insurance companies.
And that's a great thing because you're advocating for your patient.
I have to.
Wow. That's something else. It's amazing. We're talking with Dr. Steve Soloway, who is a rheumatologist and is one of the better doctors around, has been on all kind of committees. We'll be back to talk more with Dr. Soloway right after these messages.
I have my own lab, my own x-rays, I have my own area to give medications. I have all the supplies and equipment the NIH would have, the hospital would have. My practice is designed to get people better when the odds are against them.
More than a century ago, General Tire was born, right here in America. Since then, we've made a name for ourselves by making tires you can depend on. Tires built to handle any road this country can throw at them, and relied on by every kind of driver. So you know that no matter where life takes you, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
In South Jersey, we do things our own way. We say things out loud, face things head on, and never back down. And that's how we fight cancer. With the most advanced diagnostics, leading-edge technology, and a team of doctors who know how to treat your cancer. And most importantly, we do it right here at the Frank and Edith Scarpa Cancer Center, Vineland, and the Leading Edge Cancer Center, Mullica Hill.
Well, Wildflower Vegan Cafe is one of the longest-running all-vegan eateries in the state, and the only one in South Jersey to feature so much local and organic produce, where everything is made in-house from scratch. We have a small seasonal menu that changes frequently. We can always find healthy, hearty salads, wraps, soup, and baked goods, all made in-house.
The most important decisions a family can make are usually made around the kitchen table. At DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, we believe pre-planning and the difficult decisions you face with the loss of a loved one should also be made around the comfort of a table, like a family. Our friendly, kind, and compassionate staff is committed to helping you get through this most difficult time. In your time of need, trust DeMarco Luisi Funeral Home, Vineland.
Welcome back to Around South Jersey. Dr. Stephen Soloway is my guest. He's an author of a wonderful book that's out now, that just came out. And Doc, I know we've talked about some of the things in the book, and that the insurance companies. And one thing we didn't mention too that I know a lot of people have talked about is a lot of times the elected officials play games with the pharmaceutical companies who give them donations, and then they sort of vote their way when it comes time for legislation to help the insurance companies out as well. That I've heard.
I've heard of these things.
Yeah, I've heard of that too. But I guess the one thing I want to ask is, for the average person, the truck driver, the person that works at Wawa, or somebody that's an average person, what about the book for them? What would they be able to gain from reading?
I'm really glad that you asked me that question. I'm a rheumatologist, and one of the things that I made sure I included in each book was a section called Rheumatology for Dummies. And it's a dummied down version of about maybe about 15 diseases between the two books. Gout, rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, scleroderma, myositis, vasculitis, and then joint pain, carpal tunnel, trigger finger, and arthritis of the feet, the toes, the knees, the shoulders, the rotator cuff. So I break all that down in layman's terms. So if you're reading the book and you have any of those problems and you have a question about any of those topics, I think that 95% of the average person's questions are going to be answered in the pages. I've had doctors, some locally, some foreign, call me and say, love your book, but I read the chapter on gout about once a week.
Wow.
Because it's really informative. And you wrote it on a level that I can understand and learn from, and the patient can understand, because you put out the practical tips that we aren't taught as non-rheumatologic doctors.
Exactly, good point.
For example, there's a few medicines that come in pills, and the people can't swallow the pill, so they make an injectable form, but they hate needles.
Right.
So somehow your buddy Dr. Soloway comes along and says, what are you worried about? You take the injection, you squirt it into your iced tea, and you drink it.
Oh, wow.
You can do that? Yeah, you could do that. Well, are you sure? Well, that's what I was taught 35 years ago.
Wow.
I don't know why the other guys missed that class.
That is neat. What is gout, Doc?
Oh, boy. Well, the first answer, gout is my favorite disease to treat because it's the most gratifying thing I can possibly do.
Oh, wow.
Is take somebody who woke up at 4 a.m. with a big swollen ankle or a big swollen knee and can't move, and they say, I sprained my ankle. Well, how did you sprain it? You were sleeping. So they come in, they have a big red swollen tender joint. They really can't. They have crutches, wheelchair, family members.
Wow.
And so I drain the fluid out of the joint. I put it under my microscope. I positively identify monosodium urate, which is the crystal, or which is the salt, really, which you see under the microscope. And that identifies what caused that attack, because there are things that mimic gout that can look the same. So at that moment, you inject steroid into the drug. I'm sorry, not into the drug. You inject steroid into the joint. You send them home very happy. You get the blood test. They come back with the blood results. And then you start them on the proper therapy and treated properly. These people no longer get these. They can, in many cases, I've had people 10, 20 years more.
Wow.
They never get an attack again as long as they're on the right medicine.
That's fabulous.
So I never get to treat the easy cases. I get the people who finally say, God, I get an attack of gout every 2 months. And I tell them that's absurd. And they're telling me, oh, well, it used to be every week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so if you're properly treated, if you're getting more than 1 or 2 in your life, there's really something wrong. And further evaluation should be explored. Because if you're not responding to treatment the way you should, you either have the wrong diagnosis or the wrong treatment.
Good point. And they probably had the wrong doctor if they didn't have you. That's the problem.
I do like to think like that. I wrote in the one book that Muhammad Ali was the greatest.
Yeah.
But he lost 3 fights.
Yeah, he did.
And I reference other people that transcend, right? So I say, yeah, I am the best in the world or the country at clinical rheumatology, bar none. And I would dispute anybody who, has issue with that. But the truth is, I've only lost 3 fights, and I've had 50,000 fights. Muhammad Ali had, 50 or 60 fights?
50 at the most, yeah.
So if he's the greatest, I'm by far ahead of him.
I was good friends with Joe Frazier, and I was with Joe, and my cousin Denise was his secretary. And it was Christmas time, and we're up in Philly, and I brought up the topic, talking about losses. I said, Joe, I know you lost twice to Muhammad Ali and to George Foreman. Who was the fourth loss to? And my cousin Denise and he start screaming at each other, I told him not to take that fight. He came out of retirement. It was some unknown guy. And I said, okay, sorry, I didn't mean to get into that. But
without breaking HIPAA, Joe Frazier died on the way to my office.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
No kidding.
No.
Wow.
So he was...
yeah,
I knew him.
You sure did. Better than I. Yeah, that is really neat.
You want to talk about a man of steel? I put my arm around his shoulder one time, and I thought, are you human? You would not want to get hit by this man.
No, you're right. He was
My
really
Lord.
strong. And I never think, because I had known him for 25 years, and when I got elected mayor of Millville, he came to my swearing in. Of course, everybody wanted to get his autograph. So, yeah, and I'm sure, we could talk about people that we know in common. Of course, you've got the former president. I mean, you've got all kind of people that you've dealt with that are quite prestigious, and that's a nice thing too, to be able to enjoy knowing some of those celebrities. In fact, speaking of some wonderful people, Carlene said he's the best boss ever, and she said, hi, gentlemen, great job. And Beth Anderson Jones, you know her, right?
Oh, Jones. How are you, Jones?
Such a pleasure to work for him. So your employees are very happy, that's for sure.
Well, you're talking about the cream of the crop with those two.
Well, I know Carlene. I don't know Miss Jones, Beth Anderson, but I'm sure.
I like to razz her and call her Jones or whatever color shirt she's wearing. That's her name that day. And
that is
but her
really
daughter's a swimmer, so we often talk about swimming
I see.
and such.
So did you swim in high school too?
I did. I did.
What a great sport to participate in high school, because it comes a lifetime.
But what a lousy swimmer.
Yeah, it doesn't
The coach
matter.
didn't even know my name.
Where did you go to high school?
Great Neck South.
Is that in Long Island?
It's Long Island in Nassau County.
Right.
I started high school in Queens at Newtown High School in Jackson Heights.
Okay.
Lived in I lived at like a trifurcation, kind of like if I lived at the intersection of where Millville, Bridgeton, and Vineland all met.
Oh, okay.
Except where I lived, it was Elmhurst, Corona, and Rego Park, and then Jackson Heights.
Wow.
I lived right there.
Jeez.
And I've got to tell you something. If you go to school there now, you're going to be murdered.
Oh my God.
It was the
Jeez.
worst neighborhood. My mom yelled at me. She said, why didn't you tell us they keep punching you and kicking you at school all the time?
Oh my God.
And I said, well, they didn't stab me yet or anything.
Oh, jeez.
No, it was a horrible experience. But, you know, I didn't get killed, so I got stronger.
Thank God. Yeah. You can dodge anything now.
Yeah.
It's like, works out. Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you, it's just been such a pleasure to meet you in person and talk with you. As I say, you're like the rock star. I see you on these billboards, and I hear all these great things about you. And my friend just has nothing but the most wonderful praise for you. And I know how he's same age as me, and he was hurting so bad.
At 45, he was that old?
Yeah, like you too. But he just really, really struggled with it. And we would sit and he would just praise you and tell me what a great job you've done. And, you know, and when you see people from 100 different cities throughout the United States, all over the world.
That blows me away.
Well, it says something for you, Doc. God bless you. That's a tremendous, accolades for you. Wow.
Other than me, the only people, well, I don't know if you heard of Nick DiPace. He's a neurocardiologist. He's in Sicklerville.
Okay.
His patients come probably more far and wide than mine.
Wow.
Now, he's 10 years my senior.
Oh.
He's been doing it 10 years longer. Unbelievable. And people complain about the waiting time at my office. His waiting time is worse.
Wow.
But I did teach him about buying pizza for the waiting room.
That's smart.
But I will tell you this. Since we mentioned the waiting time, a lot of the people listening that don't like me because the coffee was cold, the pizza was lousy, or the waiting time.
Oh, okay.
Here's the problem. A guy who waited for me 3 hours, if he saw 10 doctors and they didn't do anything for him for 10 years, but he paid his copay and drove and he paid for parking, did he waste 10 years or 3 hours?
10 years.
So this is what I try to explain to these people, and a lot of them get grumpy.
Yeah.
And it's nothing personal. It's hard for me to say no when people are suffering.
Yeah. Well, plus you're so detailed, and you want to make sure you give them the right diagnosis, the right medicine.
So they don't go another 10 years getting all the wrong stuff.
Yeah. That's amazing. God bless you. You really, I'm proud of you and your staff, and I see your place and how comfortable it looks when the people are getting their infusions. How long does the infusion take? Some of those that I see in the commercial.
The longest one can be a few hours.
Okay.
That would be, they call it IVIG. So IV just means intravenous, and IG stands for immune globulin. And that's used for muscle weakness, some lupus cases, some more odd things. But the rheumatoid arthritis infusions range from less than 5 minutes to about 2 hours, depending on which drug. The osteoporosis stuff, one is just a shot, like a flu shot, while the other one is an IV for 15 minutes.
That's not bad.
We have some lupus drugs that are given by infusion that take about a half an hour. And these drugs are administered usually anywhere from every 1 to 2 months.
I see. And well, it certainly looks nice and comfortable. Your staff are taking good care of the people. And folks, if you need anything in the rheumatoid arthritis or any of that lupus and all the things that Dr. Soloway handles, you're lucky. If you're in Cumberland County, you go right there. And
if you're not in Cumberland County,
it doesn't matter wherever you are.
We love people from everywhere.
Yeah, you're right. If you're in the world, you can anywhere in the world, you can come on in and stop and make sure you get treated very, very well. Doc, thank you so much for coming in.
The pleasure.
You got to promise me to come back sometime because you're delightful.
You tell me the day and I'll be here.
Okay, well, I'll call Carlene, and we'll set one up again soon.
Absolutely.
And good luck with your books. When's your book signing coming up at the Tower?
Well, more important, this Saturday at 10 a.m., we're having a book signing at the office.
Oh, super.
A local one. I hope that everyone from Cumberland, Salem, Gloucester, Atlantic, Cape May, anybody who can hear my voice right now, we'd love you to come out and get an autographed book. But Trump Tower, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. this Thursday.
Wow.
I'll have the same podium where the ex-president announced his run for presidency.
That's super. I know you're friends with him.
I've got goosebumps already thinking about standing there.
Well, that is wonderful. My goodness, I'm so happy for you. That is
Thank
well
you
deserved.
so much.
Well deserved. Thank you.
Do me a favor.
Yes,
Don't ever get gout. I don't need to see any of this stuff. So
okay, thank you. I've been lucky so far. Knock on wood.
Good.
None of those things, or arthritis, or anything like that. So I've been fortunate. But I know if I get it, I know where to come. All right. Thank you so much. Dr. Stephen Soloway has been our guest this evening. His latest book is Medical Politics: How to Protect Yourself from Bad Doctors, Insurance Companies, and Big Government, and advice on PMR, fibromyalgia, osteoporosis, and vasculitis. So all these things are included. Make sure you get the book, and there you see it. And by all means, pick it up. And you can go Thursday right to South Delsey Drive.
Saturday.
Thursdays
10 a.m.
Saturday, 10 a.m. In fact, there it is right there, October 29th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2848 South Delsey Drive in Vineland, and you'll see the famous Dr. Steve Soloway. For Dr. Soloway, I'm Jim Quinn. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
This has been a QBC television production, in association with our partners and sponsors. QBC broadcasts on Comcast Cable Channel 22, and live streams its programming on Facebook and YouTube. All rights reserved by Quinn Media and QBC, programming that serves the South Jersey market.